So Crimes of Grindelwald wasn't, all things considered, the best Harry Potter film out there, and it was definitely divisive among fans. Suffice to say, though, I did enjoy it for the good bits it had. Would you say the same?
No. I think my sort of thing is the other way around. I hate it mostly, but then there are some bits that are okay in my, or some bits that I like and are good in my eyes.
Okay, but yeah, in the past now, we're looking forward to the future and the arrival of the third film. And in terms of details for what we know so far on the film, we know that the film will be coming out on the 12th of November 2021, sorry, because it was
21. Yeah, 21. They've moved it back a year.
Yeah, because it was meant to come out next year, but they pushed it back because they needed further writing on the script. What do you think this means for them?
I think they've definitely realised that they need to have a good movie after Grindelwald, because the Crimes of Grindelwald didn't make as well as they expected. So I think that, and I've heard a statement when they said that they want to, they have like confidence in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and they want to make a good movie that will like be good for the fans and for the critics alike. So I think this pushback for movie fans is bad because you're not going to get a movie for another year. But I think it's a good sign that they've actually noticed that something's up and that they want to, sort of not retcon, but sort of make better what they, messed up on. I think so. It's good. I think.
Yeah. I mean, this does kind of remind me of the Sonic situation, where they have to go back and fix some things to make fans more interested in the project. And considering how we all felt about how the second film felt very rushed or very bloated, of all its subplots and extensive world building, when really we could have just been happy with a simple story about Newt and Tina. I actually keep thinking, why wouldn't it have been better if the second film was just another adventure with Newt and the gang, and they maybe had some Easter eggs or minor details that implied the events of Grindelwald going on, and the film could end, per se, with a tease for that kind of story to be told with Credence, as opposed to just, here's everything with Newt, here's everything with Credence, here's everything with Dumbledore, and end.
Yeah, it might have been sort of better as different franchises altogether. So like the Fantastic Beasts stuff with Newt and Tina and Jacob and Queenie, so all that stuff separate, and then maybe a Dumbledore franchise or Dumbledore set of movies separately, because there is a lot of information to be crammed in to one franchise.
Yeah, but with what we got, we're happy that we're going to be giving a bit more time to maybe get a better result. And among other things that we now know about the film, at least for now, we do know that a lot of the cast from Crimes of Grindelwald will be coming back, and we also know that J.K. Rowling has revealed through Twitter a lot that certain characters that were literally teased in the second film will also be having large roles. The one that comes to mind for me is God help me,
is it Jacob? Because he's a baker. He has large roles. So,
that was actually quite good. But I'm butchering this name here, but Ilvery Hicks, Professor Ilvery Hicks or whatever from Ilvermorny, the American school.
Sure.
Yeah, she's the witch who Nicholas Flamel talks to briefly in the book before he goes off to help them fight those fire dragons. She's apparently going to be in the film.
Oh, I thought that was that her? I thought that was the president of America.
No, actually, that's a character that we'll be seeing more of in the next film, and J.K. has been quoted as saying we will see her true glory. So whether she's a big role that focuses on her and then it's done will remain to be seen, I guess. But were you excited for that character? Because I honestly forgot she was in the movie.
Yeah, literally until you said that, I was like, "Who is this person?" This is a complete change of my notes because I have nothing on this on Ilvermorny at all. I don't know how they can bring in an Ilvermorny subplot as well as everything else.
Well, yeah, she'll be back, and I'm curious to see what her true glory will be. But again, I do feel like this is going to be kind of like a Lita situation where she was teased in the first film, and we think that they're going to have such an important role, when really it's going to be amount to maybe some scenes and maybe one action scene. Who knows?
Yeah.
Honestly, were you invested in the Lita Lestrange subplot?
It was intriguing, but the way it ended, and well, most of it was kind of stupid. And I use this phrase quite a lot. It was quite naff. Like the whole thing about she changed the baby around so that her actual brother's dead. It's like what a weird little
I actually
thing
have a
to have
problem with
in
it.
a Harry
But the
Potter
problem
movie.
is because it's just so suddenly wrapped up, and because we don't really spend a lot of time with Lita outside of she was Newt's friend, and he might have a crush on her, but that's not really delved deep too much in because of course he's got the hots for Tina. I actually think this would have worked better if again go back to our earlier pitch for the second film, it would have been better if the film was about Newt and Tina's relationship, and then you could maybe end the film introducing her, and then she could have been more of a centre focus in the third film, and then go from there, I guess, as opposed to here she is, oh she's gone now.
There she's gone. Yeah, I think they will have some more scenes with her later on, even though she's dead. But I think they will do some more flashbacks. But if they do, it kind of is pointless now because she's dead.
I do hope so, because they can. We'll get to this, but they can work around that. And I also do think that we are still owed to see how Newt got expelled. Because again, going back to what we mentioned in the review, I still think that was something they should have put in the second film, because that was so focused on him and, well, I say that was, but that was the film that acknowledged her and Newt's friendship and relationship to that level, I guess. So doing it in any of the other films will probably feel like catch up at some point, and in some form.
Yeah, and also I was rewatching Crimes of Grindelwald a couple of days ago, and the actress who plays Lita, honestly, I wasn't really invested in, like, her performance was a bit like, eh.
No,
I mean, it was fine. It's just it wasn't a standout for me. So Lita's character wasn't a big thing for me.
Yeah, well, we can hope for the best for the rest of the cast at least. But
yeah,
Rio de Janeiro in Brazil.
She said that,
and I am aware that Brazil. Yeah, she said it in a Twitter poll. She said it on Twitter roughly around the time the second film was being released in theatres, and I don't know if it's been officially announced by Warner Bros or any other spokesman from the films at the moment, but I think the general consensus that everyone has is the film's going to have some involvement in Rio. What do you think? Because I do know that Rio does exist in the Harry Potter world, courtesy of Harry Potter Wikipedia, and there's a bit of history tied to it already, but as far as I'm aware from research at least, I don't know if there's anything heavily tied into the world of Potter that we could find out in Fantastic Beasts 3. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't actually heard that, the Rio de Janeiro thing, but I'm very glad that is happening, because to sort of keep up with the trend of the Fantastic Beasts, each one's going to be set in a different country, so we can see the different wizarding cultures of each. So we've seen the American ministry, we've seen the French ministry. Now we're going to see this new wizarding culture, hopefully, and all the and hopefully the beasts that will ensue, hopefully. But that's a good sign. I like.
Yeah, I do hope we get more Fantastic Beasts per se, as opposed to the minor cutesy moments we got in the second film. Because again, I feel, kind of going back to the tones, it does feel weird to have a film have all these cute moments with these animals in it, to have, oh, this baby's dead, oh, this other baby's dead. Oh, oh god.
Yeah,
what were you thinking, JK?
Lots of baby murders in that one.
Now we are going on to the last, what we know, factor into the third film. Sorry, JK has confirmed, I guess, most described, that the next Fantastic Beasts film will be the one where answers are given. We can put 2 and 2 together and guess what she's talking about here, can't we?
Is it Aurelius Dumbledore?
Yeah. Now, considering it's been nearly a year since, I say nearly a year, but yeah, it's a while since the film came out. Have you softened to the revelation yet, or you still, this can't happen?
I think I've had the thought that as soon as that I saw that, and I've got the same thought now. You know, in the end of Fantastic Beasts, when Credence is supposed to be dead, but there's like a little wisp of black that goes up, and everyone's like, "Oh, Credence is dead. Credence is dead." Then when the trailer for the second one came out, they're like, "Oh, Credence is alive." That's like a shock. I was always like, "No, he's gonna come back, and he's gonna be alive," because you can see he obviously didn't die. I had a sort of similar thing for this when it was when Grindelwald said, "You are Aurelius Dumbledore." I was like, okay, it doesn't make sense in a timeline sort of thing. But looking at all the theories and what everyone said, and my personal thing was Grindelwald is just lying and making it up to manipulate, because that's what he does. So I was never sort of like offended, because lots of people definitely like offended by that. But I was never angry at that. I was like, okay, it's a plot device that Grindelwald is using to manipulate. But then I've also heard have you heard about the Ariana Dumbledore Obscurus thing about Aurelius Dumbledore?
I know the basics of it, but if there's anything else I don't know, would you be able to learn?
It was just like how Ariana is supposed to be. I think at this point she's supposed to be dead, but the fact that we think, I mean, it's going to be maybe confirmed in this one that she was Obscurus. Credence is also Obscurus, and he was supposed to be dead, but he came back. So people might be thinking that the reason why he's called Aurelius Dumbledore is because he's got a bit of he's hosting Ariana Dumbledore's Obscurus inside him. So that's why he is a Dumbledore, but he's not actually. Like, he's just a host. Therefore, his identity's changed. I think that's what I've taken from that, which I don't mind if they bring that up and if they explain it. But I hope that is the case, rather than it's a secret Dumbledore that no one's known about.
Oh, I did not know that.
No.
So the theory, I guess, is that she's some form of Ariana is still out there. It's just attached itself to Credence.
Yeah. So she's still alive, but through Credence, which I think is a nice sort of little theory. But
okay.
He's got to bite the dust at some point, because she, as we know, it's taken quite a toll on Dumbledore. So, like, I don't think.
I actually, come to think of it, you know what? I'm going to hold off on this again, because again, this is something reserved for the what we want scenario. But okay, so yeah, I do hope this film gives us some concrete answers and that feel justified. Because as much as we all like to, blame the JK for the mistakes Crimes of Grindelwald made, and are unsure if she can fix them, I still think they could work in some form. Because I actually think, people wouldn't have been so angry at the twist if there weren't so many other minor problems with the film, in terms of pacing, story, character, decisions, and rushed scenarios. And again, also the fact that small things like the fact that wizards don't constantly say their spells now anymore, or the fact that, again, some minor details for diehard Potter fans, but the fact that Newt can, obliviate? Not obliviate, but use that charm that pulls people to you. It's established in Harry Potter lore that you can't pull living things to you, or animals to you, but she does it to his little mascot.
To Jacob and Niffler.
Yeah, Niffler.
Yeah.
And, sorry. And also I'm sure there's other details to it, I guess, but I think if there hadn't... and the Professor McGonagall thing. I mean, again, if it had been acknowledged that she was just McGonagall's mother or grandmother...
It can't be because McGonagall's dad is a Muggle, so the name McGonagall, the first wizard would have been Minerva. So that is just a blatant mistake.
Oh, god damn it, JK.
Yeah, because I've just quickly on this while I bring it up, I've got a timeline sort of from just after Crimes of Grindelwald to 1945, which is where all of this will finish. And in my timeline, in 1935, which is 7-8 years after Crimes of Grindelwald, that is when Minerva McGonagall is born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that is. I really hope that is explained at some point. Like, because I've watched a video with the Super Carlin brothers. They've said that it might be a time turner, and she might be travelling back in time to teach.
Well, that is a bit of a stretch.
But apart from that, it's just a blatant mistake, which is a shame.
I've been so up in arms about the twist, but again, because everything else piled onto it, it just feels like anyone's made so many mistakes, currently. And it's set the stage for this final one to make us go screaming. But I do hope that they can give us some satisfying conclusion of sorts to this in the third film, because again, this series was meant to be a trilogy. So in a way, it would be fitting for the third film in this 5-part series to wrap up a lot of stuff from the first two, and then evolve, per se, into the next chapter of the story, which will be about Dumbledore and Grindelwald.
Yeah. I think that is what's going to happen at this point.
I hope so.
Because they've said that Newt... I think this has been confirmed, that Newt and Tina's story will become, like, sort of smaller and smaller as it goes on, so that they'll become not the main characters, and then Dumbledore will be the main character of the last couple, I think, is what they said.
Well, if that is the case, then I hope they do them justice in the next film, and they do some things, which we can get to now, actually. So, what characters do you want to see more of in this next film?
Well, we're obviously going to see the main four, so Newt, Tina, Queenie, and Jacob. But so yeah, there are some characters who I think should have more screen time, or have a sort of conclusion, or should be brought back. So my two sort of main ones are Theseus. So he had a sort of semi-big role in Crimes of Grindelwald. So I think he should have like maybe I don't think he should be like a big player in the rest of them. Maybe just in the next one he can be still working for the Ministry, but like, be real sad and stuff, and maybe have some sort of nice conclusion for him. But I also think Graves should, Colin Farrell's character, Graves. I think he should. We should see if he was a real person and what happened to him. So maybe he could come back as helping them, helping Newt and that lot. Or he should just be found somewhere. Maybe even found dead. He doesn't even need to be a character. But I think we need to have some sort of conclusion of where he went, because it's not very clear in the first one what happened to him. I'm not sure if Nicholas Flamel should be back, because he didn't really do much.
Yeah, he was more of a glorified cameo at this point, so I don't really think we need to see more of him.
Yeah. No, I think if they do use him, it should be him and Dumbledore having some sort of conversation. Maybe that could be the extent of it. Or if he is a character, he needs to be doing something, worthwhile. And it should be him and Dumbledore definitely should have a scene together at least. There is a character who I think should be introduced, or two characters I think should be introduced. But this is just speculation and what I want, so should we say that for later? Okay.
For me personally, I really hope they just focus on a few characters, and this can get more into in the last section. But I really hope they keep the focus on Newt, Tina, Jacob, and Nagini and Dumbledore. And I do mean those three per se in story A, and Dumbledore and maybe two other players or one other player in story 2. Because I think the second film has got to be more personal, and it's got to be more intimate, and it's got to be that simple a story, but also what that makes sense for these characters. Because again, the first film was all over the place with its cast, with its storylines, and it felt difficult to be attached to certain ones, because again, you're following certain people that you are familiar with, but they're acting in ways that you're not really sure used to be them or whatever. So I think that if the focus is more focused, if they keep the story simple and focusing on the characters that we want to see and that makes sense for this story, because this is Fantastic Beasts we're talking about, I think this can work to fix the audience's frustration for Tina. So if this film puts the focus back on Newt and his team, I think that can work its way into concluding, as you said earlier, that trilogy, and then the four and so on can shift its focus more to Dumbledore, and maybe Newt can have some involvement that's not too in our faces with like, oh, so this guy was responsible for helping the greatest wizard of all time defeat the Dark Lord.
Yeah, because that would be, in a way, some sort of retcon, because you never hear anything at all about Newt Scamander, the author, helping Dumbledore, the Great Wizard, defeat Grindelwald. It's always just Dumbledore defeating Grindelwald. So I think there should be some sort of help. Like, Newt should help, but definitely it's Dumbledore specifically by himself defeating him.
Yeah, again, going back to Podnos earlier in this video and in the review we did, it would make so much more sense if the Dumbledore stuff was its own story, was its own trilogy per se, and the Newt stuff was more expanding the wizarding world and having some fun with the characters, as opposed to, oh, everything's interconnected.
Yeah, if the Newt sort of maybe the Fantastic Beasts Newt stories and movies would be light-hearted and fun, and then the Dumbledore stuff can be the dark stuff, because they made Fantastic Beasts dark when Fantastic Beasts the concept is very light, like a sort of kooky man with a bow tie running around with a box that's big on the inside. Hang on. Catching fantastical beasts from the Harry Potter franchise. That sounds really fun and uplifting, but it turns out to be really dark and layered, which it's kind of contrasting. You know, when it could be a fun thing and then a dark set of movies separately, like you said.
Yeah, but yeah, I just hope they know where the focus is going to be and they stick with that, because again, this can. Again, it's like doing a sequel to Alien, but focusing on a completely different character who happens to maybe have a few interactions with the main character. You don't really have that much investment because, again, we want to see Sigourney Weaver, we want to see Ripley, we don't want to see this new character who had one interaction with them. So
we don't want to see one random French man who thinks that his little brother is someone who, and they should kill him or her.
Yeah, whatever. I can't even remember his name, but
yeah, le Frenchman.
Yeah,
le baguette magique.
I am the Dark Avenger.
That means magic.
You are the Raven. You know, if to be fair, if he was after Bran, I would be happy.
Sorry.
Again, except watched the film recently, but he refers to Credence as the Raven or whatever, and I just thought, oh Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Credence is the Three-Eyed Raven. Who would know?
Oh, don't go there. But yeah, back to questions. So, going on to the next bit. For Fantastic Beasts 3, what literally Fantastic Beasts do you want to see in this next film?
Oh yeah, well I definitely want to see, like, if it's called Fantastic Beasts, there should be like heavily focused on the Fantastic Beasts as opposed to Grindelwald, which is character driven. So I've got a sort of 3 categories of beasts that I want to see, and the first one is beasts we haven't seen at all. So like I'm talking about books and movies. So beasts we haven't they haven't shown us at all. So like in the movies they've shown us the Thestrals, and we've got in the books. In the movies and the books, we've seen the Thestrals and the dragons and like hippogriffs. Then the second category is ones that we've seen in the books that weren't on the films. So that is like how we saw the Niffler and the Bowtruckle were brought into Fantastic Beasts because they were in the books of Harry Potter, but they weren't in the movies. And then the other one is the one we've seen in both. So like Thestrals and dragons and stuff. So I want to see more beasts that we recognise, like maybe hippogriffs, and then some more that we haven't seen at all, which would be nice. But the only specific ones I want to see are the Welsh green dragon. That's my favourite beast, and that's the one I want to see. But I don't really have any of the other kooky ones, or maybe the dog that has 2 tails. I forgot what that's called, but. I need to reread Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them to see what other beasts would be good additions. What about you? What do you want to see?
I have, again, going back into some research I did, the only ones that come to mind from the Brazilian area of the wizarding world, the fantastical beasts that come to mind is a Nogtail, which is a demon-like magical creature resembling a piglet.
Okay.
And and this is the next one. They're more just minor beasts that will have no impact on the plot, but maybe just would be cool to see in terms of, as per typical sequels, expand the world and the lore and the creatures within. But there's also the fire slugs. You can kind of guess what they are. And going back with the piglet, I just think these would be cool to see. But the one that I actually would like to see, which, believe it or not, is something that we've actually talked about before in our own personal projects, which we'll never explain here because it's just for fun, really. It was just a bit of a tease here. It was a story we wrote for Harry Potter-based entertainment, and it will never see the light of day because it was just too fun to put out there and worth someone stealing. But it involved these great creatures, which are called Leaffields. I believe that's how it's called. And a lot of fans like to talk about them as almost like a variation of the Dementors, because they are basically a carnivorous and highly dangerous magical beast that resembles a black cloak. And again, judging from my research, the only wizard who was ever able to survive an encounter with them back in the 1800s was to use the Patronus charm, and it spared him because of that. And I think they're going to Brazil. Chances are they might have some journeys going up in the rainforest, which if it's true, I'm all for that, because again, exploring new territories is what I want out of these films. So to have them having this deadly encounter with a creature that is in some form in spirit of the Dementors, I think that could be a great scene to witness for an entertainment factor and also for almost a fear factor. Because again, balancing off from the second film and its dark tone, this film doesn't need to be further dark, but it does need to have that fine balance. Because I still think the first film has some really dark moments, but it's overshadowed by the light-hearted moments. And to some, I guess that could be contradicting, but I think the sequels, as they go on, they could get progressively darker. They just need to work on the tone they're going for. These Leffolds, I think they could be a great addition to the film. And also, it could be just fun for fans to say, oh, that's what a Leffold looks like. Okay, so now moving on to fan theories. There's quite a few out there. Not so enough to pinpoint an actual story yet, but are there any Fantastic Beasts fan theories out there that pique your interest and make you heavily consider what could happen in the next film, or into the next 3 films, actually, considering?
I've got a couple of little things that I've thought of that in the timeline of the Harry Potter sort of stories and Fantastic Beasts. So the sort of main one that I have, the sort of big one, is that it might not be worked in, is the fact that Tom Riddle's sort of story happens literally in the time period between Fantastic Beasts 1 and 1945, where we know that the story will end. So all of the stuff that's going to happen with Tom Riddle happens then. So he's actually born, I think, the year before Fantastic Beasts the story happens.
He's born after the events of the first film, but during the months leading up to the events of Crimes of Grindelwald, right?
I think so. It's either the film is set in 1927 and he was born in 1926, or the other way around. It's one of those two. So I think pretty much. But his so just after the events of Fantastic Beasts 2, his uncle is brought back from Azkaban because he was sort of he was sent in there for, I think he was attacking Muggles or something. He attacked the Muggle and he attacked a ministry member, so he was sent to prison, and he brought back. Tom Riddle in the orphanage, and when he's in the cave with the kids and he's creeping them out. But also the sort of big thing that I think could come into this is the fact that Dumbledore actually visits Tom Riddle in Wall's orphanage in the time between Fantastic Beasts 2 and 1945. So what year is that in?
33 maybe? Because he's meant to be a young boy at the time.
It's 1938. 1938 is when. So that'd be when Tom Riddle will be 11 years old and Dumbledore goes to visit him. So maybe they could have a scene where Jude Law's Dumbledore is instead they sort of redo it where it's Jude Law instead of Michael Gambon. But apart from that, and the scene where in the second Harry Potter movie where it's in Tom Riddle's memories where he's Dumbledore's talking to Tom Riddle and Tom Riddle frames Hagrid, that's the only other thing that could sort of factor in with Voldemort. So they could reshoot that bit, or have another bit where at least Dumbledore's reacting or talking to, interacting. I mean, to Voldemort or Tom Riddle at some point in the story.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's sort of the main one that I can think of. But there's some other ones. Shall I get into them as well?
Let me just say on the Voldemort one.
Yeah.
I could see that happening, and I do see the appeal. However, they really would have to manage it well, because, being truthfully, considering the story, and I mean, does Voldemort ever get it? Does he, aside from his interaction with him in Deathly Hallows, is there ever a point where he is influenced by Grindelwald? Or is there ever a point in the memories where he has some passing reference to the events of the First Wizarding War?
Not that we know about, but they can definitely shoehorn it in if they want to. Like the Grindelwald's rise as Tom Riddle's growing up might be a big impact on him. I don't know. I mean, we know now that it isn't, but they could put it in the fact that it is, maybe.
Maybe, because I think they're really gonna have to tread lightly with the next few films, especially when it gets so close to those points that start to become familiar with the main Potter films. And again, as we've seen in Crimes of Grindelwald, if you're not doing it carefully enough and just doing it for the sake of fan service, you then get scenes with Professor McGonagall, who's there before she's even born.
Yeah.
Okay, so among my list of potential theories out there that have piqued my interest, I do like the one, if this does come true, that could focus on Dumbledore meeting Fawkes for the first time. And the gist of this one is that essentially, I think it goes along the lines of Dumbledore will encounter Fawkes. Maybe it was the bird, the little one that Credence had at the end of Crimes of Grindelwald, or maybe it's a new encounter that Newt meets, and he gives the bird to Dumbledore, which a lot of people are thinking would be an expected outcome, considering Newt and his relationship with magical creatures. A part of me actually would prefer it that Dumbledore would just be the one to encounter him and have that personal bond with him, because again, it does kind of teeter on that edge of, oh, this character is so important, even though he's never been mentioned in great detail in the previous films. But at the same time, I'm not against it, because it does make sense for the character, and it is a nice little tie-in to say, oh, here, have this bird as a gift from one of your former students. Oh, and we know as the audience, he's important. He'll come into play to help Harry Potter years down the line. And I do like that one.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Newt would to give him Fawkes, because their relationship is it's more complex than we thought it was. But yeah, like you said, it would have just been nice to not know how he got him, or if it was just Dumbledore his own accord, because it's like when you said that, it reminded me of Solo, how every single little detail about Han Solo was answered in that thing, even though it wasn't a question. Like, his name is Solo because he was by himself. It's like, well, that's a bit naff. Just
give him an ancient history background, or ancient historical background, or something like in the expanded universe.
Yeah.
Why give him?
We don't need every single bit of information described in the best detail. Just leave some things vague.
Yeah, but then again, we're not here to talk about bloody Star Wars. But yeah, I would like to see this one come true if it's handled well. What's your other one?
I've got two, but one of them is more in the sort of what I want to see. So I'll just say the first one. So basically, there's a character in. It's not a character, and they're not in Harry Potter at all. But there's a Quidditch player on the American World Quidditch team in the present day of Harry Potter, so like the 90s, called Quentin Kowalski. So people have theorised that could be Jacob and Queenie's child, or not child, descendant. So that maybe he's their grandchild, which it would be a nice little callback. But that does mean that we'll have to have Queenie getting pregnant at some point. And how's that? We need to with or maybe it won't even be Queenie. Maybe Jacob will be with someone else, magical.
maybe, but I know of this character, but does he appear in the books, or is he?
He's not a character whatsoever. He is literally just like a Pottermore added thing about the Quidditch team of America.
Oh,
he's never been in any of the books or anything. He's just a retroactively added person. So he might have been added. I don't know if he's even been added before or after Fantastic Beasts come out, but he might have just been added in purely because of the name. But it might just have been a coincidence. But hopefully something will come out of it.
Yeah, probably just a subtle reminder that there's a Kowalski out there. but I don't know. I'm really struggling to figure out what will happen with Queenie, because considering how things turned out with her, I wouldn't say it's going to be difficult to figure out how she's going to be handled, but at the same time, they also need to tread lightly, because of how things felt rushed in the second film, you don't want to suddenly make a good guy again on the turn of a heel. And I think the easiest way to do that is to basically put Jacob's life in jeopardy, and she basically turns to the good side again. But I think that they need to make it more complex than that. And part of me wants to think that the best outcome would be to let her get killed off, and she in some form redeems herself dying, so that Jacob can... I guess that would propel Jacob's character a bit more into a different direction than we expect, and also would kind of be fitting to have a character who... the most innocent character, when you think about it, from this film series, end in such a dark and upsetting way. And it kind of does kind of leave you in that mindset that, this was the first Wizarding War where people died. And sure, this is not Professor Lupin level of emotional, but it's... when you consider how this series began and where you kind of thought things were going to go, it does kind of put you in that mindset.
Yeah, I've sort of got like a similar sort of theory that's sort of the reverse of that. So I think instead of maybe Queenie dying, I think Jacob is going to bite the dust at some point. The reason, I think it's literally the same reason. So I think in maybe the fourth one or the fifth one, when these characters have been properly developed and there's been enough time for Queenie to be on the bad side, at some point Grindelwald himself will kill Jacob because he's a muggle or a no-mage or can't spell. No-magique, sorry. So Grindelwald will kill him, and Queenie will see that Grindelwald doesn't want what she wants, and he's got the completely opposite agenda, so she's going to turn against him then and help the guys in the end. And maybe even she'll die as well, maybe, because I think Jacob and Queenie are definitely... I use the word expendable because they're not in the future. I don't think timelines of like Harry Potter, so those two can definitely, they're like killable characters, because that Newt and Tina, they live after this together for many happy years. So Queenie and Jacob, I think one of them at some point will get it.
I don't know. I do see the appeal, and part of me actually does kind of like that, but I also kind of think that would be kind of like killing Ron off, especially when Jacob was such a beloved character. But I can see them going in that direction if, again, as you said, they can figure out the right story and they can make us care. Because Jacob, you already do care about him because he's like the sort of cutest character. Oh, you do, but I just feel like in the second film, he had a lot of moments that were sort of played up. I mean, the fact that he doesn't do it a lot, but there were moments where the opening scene where we see him in the second film, and he's full on laughing like crazy, and he has that laugh a lot. It's
you sound like a bird.
Okay, shut up. But
the giggle water scene,
the giggle. I mean, I think that was only in one scene in the first movie, or twice maybe. Did they?
The joke was used twice because he had the giggle water.
Yeah.
When he was trying to be cool, he was like,
Yeah, but how many times did they do it in the second film? Because for me, at least, I feel like they played up a bit more in the second film. And that's a problem that comes with a lot of side characters or comedic characters in follow-up films, where they overplay it to sell the audience that, these are the funny characters, these are the quirky characters. And I don't want that to become Jacob. Because again, we'll get to this more when we get to our ideas section at the end, but I really hope they can find a story that sort of takes him seriously, give him a few lighthearted moments here and there, because he's got to have some good quips, he's got to make us chuckle once in a while, but treat him as if he was the main character, and I think that's what they need to focus on for going forward, I guess.
Maybe. I think because Jacob, he is literally the comic relief character, so I think he should have some more humorous bits than the others. But I didn't actually feel in the second one that he was overplayed. I thought he was sort of the right level of funniness. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see going on.
Yeah, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but yeah, I guess we just. Maybe. I just hope they can figure out him and Queenie's story and make it feel earned. Yeah.
Another theory that I've heard is similar to the one I mentioned earlier on, how Credence isn't a Dumbledore because he's Ariana. That's why he's a Dumbledore. But it's sort of similar to that. It's that and that there is some evidence actually that draws to this theory that Dumbledore himself had an Obscurus, an Obscurial, or whatever it was called. He had that, and he got rid of it. Like he detached it from himself, and because he did that, it became like it manifested itself as a person. So Credence is Dumbledore. That's why he's called a Dumbledore, because Credence is actually Albus Dumbledore's. And the evidence that sort of backs this up is that because Dumbledore he appears to have knowledge of what an Obscurial is, he says that it is an evil twin. That's how he described it, an evil twin. So maybe Credence is Dumbledore's evil twin, and the reason it's maybe mid-20s or early 20s is because that's the age it's grown up since Dumbledore was a teenager, so that's why the sort of age differences are a bit off, even though they're supposed to be twins. But I think that's everything that sort of puts into that theory. I'll think about it if there's any other evidence later on, but I think that's the gist of the theory, that Credence is Dumbledore. That's why he's called Aurelius Dumbledore. We'll never know. We'll see.
I'd say that is an interesting take on it. Although, is there any... I mean, the evidence you said, what was the evidence?
Is that the way that Dumbledore describes Obscurials, he describes it, like quote by quote, he says it's an evil twin. That's how he describes it. So it's not like it's like inside you, is that it's something else. That's how he sort of describes it. So that could lean that. And also, another bit of evidence, or information, not evidence, I guess, that I've heard about it is that he gets the help of Newt because Newt has studied Obscurus, because he has one in his case. So that's why Dumbledore wants Newt to help him out, because he knows how dangerous it is as well. But that's really all I have on that.
Yeah. I kind of going back to the same ones there. And actually going back to our review, I really, really hope they work on this story, whatever this reveal is going to be. I really hope it feels authentic to the world of Potter, and whether that is that Dumbledore that actually does have a long lost brother, or if it's his Obscurial. I don't know. I can't. There aren't really any deeper ways of talking about this other than I just hope they pull it off right, and it feels authentic to the world that was established already.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'm hoping for with that specific story beat is that he isn't Dumbledore's brother. That's the only thing. I'm hoping they sell it in a way where it's like, oh my god, that's amazing, that can lead into the plot, that's really good, but it doesn't contradict Harry Potter and like the stories that happen in them, because Dumbledore never mentions the fact that he has another brother. He always says he has Ariana and Aberforth. He never says anything about anyone else. So I hope they, don't have him actually be the brother that Dumbledore knows about. Because it would just contradict it, and that's what I think the most criticisms about Fantastic Beasts have been, is that it contradicts lots of stuff from Harry Potter, like McGonagall we've already mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh
well. can't win them all, I guess.
Yeah. Well, JK can, because she's written it, and she's like she's so adamant about everything in Harry Potter. She works on it so much. She wrote the goddamn screenplay. Sorry, McGonagall bloody it really annoys me.
Calm down.
Sorry. Okay. Deep breathing.
Okay, so the last fan theory out there that I've run across that I don't know if this is a big one, because I think every Potter fan kind of knows this is not going to happen, but it's like that rare few that think, oh, it could happen.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah. But it's this theory is that Newt will at some point run into a member of the Potter family, either in this film or down the line, because again, we've got 3 more films after this. But did Harry have any descendants around this time period?
Oh, well, I'd imagine he would have, because he does have descendants back to the Peveril brothers, doesn't he? The cloak.
Yeah, wasn't it during this time period that the Potters got their influence in wealth or something?
Well, I don't know if it's this time. I might be slightly after, but we definitely know that Harry's granddad, he invented Sleekeazy's hair potion, and that's why Harry's so rich, because he has the wealth from his granddad. Because the James and Lily are around in the 70s, so if he would be then, he'd be maybe in the 40s or 50s. So I think definitely Harry's great granddad would be around this sort of time period. And if memory serves me, his name is Henry. So and the nickname for Henry is Harry. So just saying.
Yes. So yeah, I again, it's the potential to have Henry Potter turn up for a brief scene. I mean, yeah, because he gained the wealth by creating like hair potions or something.
That was Harry's granddad, but I'm not sure if it was I'm not sure if his name was Henry.
Okay, but yeah, who knows? I'm sure or something can maybe say like, oh, Harry's great granddad was the one who coined the idea to make magic potions or something, and his
maybe
son would go on to...
it's a father and son business.
Yeah, so maybe they could have a scene where Newt's doing his thing in Brazil or so and so in the next film, and he runs across this random guy who happens to wear Harry Potter glasses and jet black hair, and his name's Henry, and that's all we get from him.
And he's got knobbly knees.
Yeah,
because Harry's granddad's got knobbly knees.
Yeah, and we don't get the last name Potter, but diehard fans of there will say, "Oh, I know who that is."
Well, it would be a Potter though, so maybe.
Yeah, but being tongue with it, you don't need to say, "Oh, this is Henry Potter." But yeah, I like the idea that
that would be funny though. It's like, and look, Newt, this is a guy called Henry Potter. Looks at camera, winks.
Oh, then the fans would be in uproar. Like, how could you take a scene so amazing, it's such a joke? But yeah, I do know this theory is unlikely, because, let's be honest here, the actors of Harry Potter, they have moved on. They've done bigger and far greater things beyond...
Well, I wouldn't say they've done greater things, but they've done other things.
Yeah, I guess that's a better way of saying it. But they've clearly put that past behind them. They remember it fondly, but they don't want to revisit it and destroy the memory or whatever the saying is. So I can't really imagine them plucking Daniel Radcliffe from his latest theatre event, and they just say, "Oh, can you put makeup on and be this guy called Henry for a few seconds?" But
yeah, I
can imagine.
I don't think Daniel Radcliffe wants to do anything related to Harry Potter anymore.
Yeah, and I think J.K. actually did say at one point we could get them back if they were in makeup. So, but even then, I don't think they would even consider it. Maybe Rupert Grint would, but
he needs the money.
Has he been in anything since?
He's been in some little things. Yeah, he's been in a decent amount of stuff, but like it's just TV stuff. He's definitely not got the same fame as Emma Watson or Daniel Radcliffe.
That's a shame, but
he's still working.
Do what you do,
He's still working. He's not like the Weasleys where they don't have no money. He does have a job.
It's kind of poetically fitting, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the events of the Cursed Child, isn't it? Harry is like He's doing pretty good. Hermione's the minister, and then Ron's just in the shop.
Oh, Weasley. But yeah, I do like this theory, which is what I've kind of said about a lot of these theories, really, because they are interesting, and they can lead to a lot of entertainment with the films involved. But it's all about the story. It's all about how it fits in with the narrative. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't mind a Harry Potter descendant to make an appearance at some point down the line. I'm still holding out from way back when we talked about it during our very first podcast. I'm still holding out for that hope that we can get a moment in the final film where Newt's an old man or he's a ghost, and we see him maybe talking to one of Harry's kids. Because they can maybe get one of the actors from End of Part 2. Or maybe get the actors from Cursed Child and just have them have a walk-on scene in a bookstore or something.
The thing that I sort of said that maybe they could do is that at the end of the last Fantastic Beasts movie, maybe when Newt's releasing another edition of Fantastic Beasts, and usually there's a photograph of the author at the back. So it could be, the scene could be, so Newt's in the photography studio, I guess, and he's taking a picture, and they take the picture, and the picture is on the book, and then it zooms out, and it's like the back of the head of like Harry, Ron and Hermione looking over it, but you can't exactly see their faces, you can only see them in Hogwarts. That's the only sort of way it maybe like a little, that would be really cheesy, but it's like sort of like a little nice poetic, yeah, it would be, but like it zooms out and there's the back head of Harry, Ron and Hermione, and oh, that's nice. But I doubt it.
Yeah, only true fans would know it's them.
I mean, I doubt it. A girl with frizzy hair, a guy with bright red hair, and a guy with black hair. It's very, if you're watching a Harry Potter movie, it's like, oh yeah, it's Harry Potter, isn't it?
But yeah, I guess to conclude for the fan theories section of it, I just think that they're all interesting, and I would love to see some variation of them come true, but I want them to know what they're doing. Again, I think we mentioned this earlier, but they've got to have a plan, know what they're getting themselves into. I mean, again, as we talked about, this is J.K. Rowling here. She created the fucking world. So I really hope she's taken into account the problems she set up in Crimes of Grindelwald. And I hope she has reassessed what's going on, what she needs to do to make things feel right again. And they can deliver a lot of stuff that the fans are expecting and want to see. Yeah. And some of this stuff could be included, but I hope it's all worth it in the end. Because again, I do love the Fantastic Beasts films. The first one mostly, and so of the second. But it needs to know what direction it's going in and how it can be fitted in with the larger world.
Yeah, also, like reiterating from what I said earlier, they have realised that they made a mistake with Grindelwald, so I think they are having steps to make it a better movie, hopefully. But also, I think because of what the film is, it's a prequel to Harry Potter, and Harry Potter is like a modern day classic, right? That's going to be a staple of British life for years to come. So this is actually quite an important movie that's being made. It's important that they're making these movies, and it can't just be a generic bog standard movie. It has to be, impactful. It has to be, at least it has to be a good bloody movie, because Fantastic Beasts 2 wasn't. It wasn't a standalone movie that you can watch and be like, oh, that was great. It's like, So they really, and it is. I think it is a problem that I don't like to say a problem, but it is a cause that J.K. Rowling wrote a set of amazing books, and then other people changed them into movies, and it wasn't J.K. Rowling writing a screenplay, because she's directly writing what is happening, and there aren't anything, like, she's not a great screenwriter, she's a great author. That's the only thing. So maybe they can get another screenwriter in to work with her, and to sort of maybe even sort of try and like hold her back from adding so many plots and so many characters, because she can do that in a book, because that's fine, but you can't do that in a movie because you haven't got enough time.
Yeah, and going back to what we said earlier, we know they're rewriting the script. Well, not rewriting, but they're
extending.
Yeah, extending period to write on the script. So hopefully they might never admit it out loud, so that Jacob can keep her dignity or something. But maybe they have brought in a separate writer to also co-write it with her, just give her advice on how to flesh out the story without making it feel bogged up and over bloated. but
maybe they can get the writers who wrote The Cursed Child in. That would be great.
Don't, God damn it! Don't even mention their names. Don't put them anywhere near Potter again. The moment I found out, the moment we got to a point where, the moment we got to the point where Delphine revealed herself to be Voldemort's child, I literally chucked the book at the wall. Because God damn it, I could let loose a few things at that point, but to fucking find out that the Dark Lord himself got it on with Bellatrix Lestrange, no, just
during the Battle of Hogwarts. It's like, oh no, not during, but like that's when she gave birth at the Battle of Hogwarts. Like, no, she didn't. I saw it. I watched the movie myself. She did not.
Oh, damn it! Just no, please no. Cursed Child. I respect all the actors involved, but god damn it, keep that story, keep those bloody writers away from Harry Potter. We do not need them with this franchise ever again.
Hashtag not my Harry Potter.
But yeah, sorry. Concluding, yeah, I think there's a lot of problems, but they can be fixed, and some of these theories could offer the fix, and if they're handled well, they could be amazing, and they could make us really love 3, and the next 2 films could be of equal entertainment if they know where they're going and know what to do, and we can be hopeful.
Yes.
Yeah. And sorry, just one last more segment that I going back to. I actually forgot to add this one, but back when we were talking about what monsters we want to see in the film, can you remember what the name of that lizard thing was that Grindelwald had as a pet in the opening for Crimes of Grindelwald?
I don't know what the actual thing is called, but it's called he called it Antonio.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I had a random day at work, and I was thinking about that scene, and I felt bad for it, which is, I guess, kind of what you're meant to feel about. I don't know, mixed feelings, I guess, considering the scene's meant to be played for an action scene, and then it cuts to very whimsical music as the title goes. But, yeah, but I really hope we see a bit of a stretch, either the same creature and it somehow survived, or a variation of the species and have Newt catch it and treat it as a pet or something. I don't know. There's that animal.
Oh right, I thought you meant catches it as if it's still falling from the thing, then Newt catches it. That's what I thought you meant for a second. I was like, hang on.
A bit of a risk taking a time turner just for that one thing, Newt. but yeah, I don't know. Probably just a spur of the moment thing, but I really want to see more of those creatures.
They're horrible looking. I don't like them.
Be treated nice.
No, horrible.
Yeah, I know, but a typical animal thing. Don't judge a book by its cover. And we saw how affectionate it was to Grindelwald. So I don't know. Part of me, it would be nice just to have Grindelwald have a moment where he sees a reptile of the creature, and if it is the same one, it gives him the evil eyes, and it charges at him or something.
And then he kills it.
Oh,
because he kills everyone. He kills baby.
But yeah, don't take that one too seriously, because I literally just thought of it, and I felt bad. but yeah, moving on now, we can now get to the final segment, and this is more into our ideas and story hopes for this film. So, say you're in the writer's room, and you've just been asked by the studio to help co-write.
Firstly, I'd be like, what the fuck, why am I here? How did I get here? I'm only a kid. Get me out. No, I don't really have story beats that I want to put in because I'm not a good writer, but there are definitely things I want to see. So the first sort of little thingy is that we saw that a lot in Fantastic Beasts. Well, not a lot, but we saw it a bit in Fantastic Beasts 2, how there was lots of old versions of Harry Potter world things. So like you saw the old butterbeer that Jacob was drinking. I want to see more stuff like that. More stuff that we recognise from Harry Potter, but the old 1920s version of that, like the Chocolate Frog or the Bertie Bott's, you know? Lots of... Or maybe we can even see... Oh, that'd be great if we saw Diagon Alley. But the old Diagon Alley, when it was like all the people from the 20s, you know? That'd be cool.
Yeah, because we already saw the Ministry of Magic.
Well, it looks exactly the same. Yeah, that was exactly the same.
Yeah, although I did like... Rewatching it, I did like the little touch that you see they've got live owls there.
Yeah. Because
we know about the Potter points, it's... Yeah, they don't use
owls. Wizard memos, which are flying planes, paper airplanes.
Yeah, I would love to see familiar places redesigned and given a different flair to it.
Yeah.
Again, if anything, it would be good to expand the Harry Potter world as well.
Yeah. Sort of the other thing, which is cool. I should have put this in the beast I wanted to talk about, but I've just remembered it now. I want to see more beasts that are in our real world. So, like, you know how in the Fantastic Beasts book, the Loch Ness monster is actually a Kelpie. That would be cool if we saw that, or if we saw where's the Yeti supposed to be spotted? Is that Alaska?
I think it would be Alaska. Some snowy environment. Maybe we can see a Fantastic Beast that is supposed to be that, whatever. What Fantastic Beast would be like a Yeti? I can't really think of anything off the top of my head.
Not a troll, but maybe a ghoul. I don't know. But stuff like that. That's like real world inspired Fantastic Beasts that Newt's like, oh, I've heard about this. Let's go have a look. But I guess that's only for like if they do a Newt story, really, not really important for the Dumbledore story.
Unless they go to Scotland or something.
Well, yeah, well, that's where Hogwarts is, so maybe.
Oh yeah,
because they're definitely going to go back to Hogwarts. my last sort of bit, which is the bit I'm so passionate about and so excited about. And honestly, when I was thinking about this and writing my notes, I wasn't crying, but I was like, it'd be so nice if they did this. And I think they can do it. Like, it's not just wishful thinking. I think this is something that will definitely be, even if it's not as much as I want it to be, it'll be cameoed. So, in the time period, which I keep going on because I've got the timeline, of this movie, or of these movies, is also when the Chamber of Secrets is opened, and when we see Tom Riddle, which I've already mentioned, when he's framing Hagrid. And I want to see a young Hagrid be a bigger part in this than he was in the second Harry Potter movie. So I want a young Hagrid to... So we can actually see what his house is, because we actually haven't... His house hasn't been confirmed yet, I don't even think.
Hasn't it?
But I don't think it's been confirmed properly, because he's always supporting Gryffindor, he's always like Gryffindor, but I don't think it specifically says what house he's in. Or even online, I've typed in what house is Hagrid in. I don't think there's a concrete answer, because I've watched a video that states he might be a Hufflepuff, like Newt. That'd be interesting. But the sort of main thing is he could be a Slytherin, which is interesting, and it's definitely not what you expect. But there are some things that make sense. So, like the fact that when he's hiding Aragog, he's in the dungeons. Like, why would he be in the dungeons? Because he's a Slytherin. And Tom Riddle is on first name basis with them, and how would he know his name? Because he's a Slytherin.
Maybe
that would be mental. But yeah, I want to see Hagrid. I want to see a de-aged, maybe like CGI Robbie Coltrane's face on a younger body, voiced by Robbie Coltrane, like he was in the second Harry Potter, where he's got the big afro, you know. But the main thing that they can include in the story with this is the fact that in Harry Potter it is proclaimed that Hagrid received Aragog, the spider, or the Acromantula, from a pocket of a traveller, right? And what better traveller would there be than Newt Scamander? So if Newt Scamander were to give Aragog to Hagrid, because Newt's seen, maybe, that because he's been around Dumbledore and he's going to Hogwarts a lot, that he's seen that this particular student, this young little Slytherin or Gryffindor, is really great. He's really passionate about Fantastic Beasts and care of magical creatures. He's so passionate that he's big enough to look after this egg, and he gives it to him as a present. Yeah. I think that'd be so. It'd be so pure. It'd be so nice if that was the case. And I just want to see Hagrid again. Hagrid's the best.
Yeah, that actually could. Talking about that moment, that actually could be a great character moment for Newt, because we know from the few flashbacks that we got in Crimes of Grindelwald that he was an outcast caring for these creatures when everyone else just kind of took it as it came. So that could be a great moment where he sees himself in this young boy.
Yeah.
Maybe giving this egg to this young boy, and again setting up events that will come into play in the main Potter films down the line. It's a great character.
Yeah, because it doesn't contradict anything, because it's not like Hagrid to be like gushing over the fact that he met a celebrity, because Hagrid's not that sort of person, and he wouldn't sort of talk about it really, because he didn't really talk about his past to anyone, because Harry only found out about his dad and his mum in the fourth book when he didn't even mean to find out. So Hagrid can be keeping some secrets, and he's also right.
I still think it's a bit of a stretch to have Hagrid be heavily involved.
Maybe he could be, but he doesn't need to be. But maybe he could help the. But I think I've said this already, that it's Dumbledore's fight, and maybe Hagrid can be involved with the defeat and capture of Grindelwald, and also that we do know that Hagrid is loyal to Dumbledore by a fault. So you never know what secret he's holding for him.
Yeah, maybe there could be a throwaway scene in the third film where Dumbledore's teaching a class and he says, "Okay, that's class for today. Go back to your dorms," and he could say, "Hagrid, no, Rubius, come over here for a sec. I want to talk to you." And it's a nice, quiet student-teacher moment, and then the scene can end there, and that's it for the third film. And that can maybe set up a potential subplot in the fourth or fifth film where he has to help Dumbledore escape Hogwarts from the Ministry or something. I don't know, cause a distraction.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But Dumbledore will be teaching. He'll be teaching Transfiguration, for crying out loud.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm finding it difficult to think of how he could be involved without, again, contradicting the other films, because again, he can't be too involved to the point where he helped fight one of the greatest evil wizards of his time.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be involved with the final duel in the last movie, but he could be.
Yeah, but even just involved in he fought Death Eaters, or sorry, he fought his followers. Because again,
I don't think Hagrid will be involved with the fight, but he could help, by Newt with some beast or something. But he's not going to be involved with the actual fight. That's a stretch.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because again, considering how he's treated in the Potter films and books, again, a bit odd coming from people if he was to have been this famous individual, a kid, let alone, or a young man, helping fight during the First Wizard War. People would have at least respected him in some form, instead of like treating him as the groundskeeper. Yeah. But yeah,
and like hate him because he's a giant.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, as you said, if it's more tied with Newt and not in the eye of the Wizarding World, maybe they can get away with it.
I'm really hoping that we do see little Hagrid.
You never know.
But yeah, that's all I have on what I want to see. What do you want to see?
Oh boy. So yeah, I kind of went a bit overboard with my ideas and hopes for this film. But in short, this is a rough story idea for how I think the film could go and how I want it to go. More so on the want, but how I kind of think this film would go, judging from the little tidbits that we know so far. I think the film should open in the 1930 to be exact, and it's around the time that Hogwarts is closing for its school terms, like say it's like Christmas time, or it's during the holidays, so the school will be empty, and it gives the teachers time to leave, so this gives an excuse for Dumbledore to leave on an adventure with Newt. So I think the film should open with that. Maybe they can have a Hagrid scene, cameo, and then it ends with Dumbledore disapparating, and they can maybe have a throwaway line where he says, they've installed this new rule in this, ties up that little plot hole.
Surely that would be a Dumbledore's own protection.
Oh, yeah, fair point. Maybe push that to another film when he actually becomes Headmaster or something. But yeah, I'm not a diehard Potterhead, so I don't know all the details of how this and that, and although whatever hearsay. But yeah, maybe they can work that into the films at some point. But the point is, the opening sets up that Dumbledore is out of work now, so he's not fired, but he's finished his work period, so he can go off on holiday per se, and so the rest of the Wizarding World think he's on leave. He's gone off for some him time, but to us,
he's gonna like in the, I don't remember which Harry Potter it is, but Harry's like imagining Dumbledore on the beach with a drink.
Yeah, literally.
And I think I would love to see that.
Yeah, out Newt and the gang, mostly Newt's gang and Dumbledore and Nagini, who we'll get to. But yeah, it's about them travelling to Brazil to try and find the MacGuffin and insert the magical object here. That's literally just insert any magical object here that can be very powerful if it's in the hands of a dark wizard or whatever. Yeah. I'm sure there's some relic out there in Pottermore that people can pull out and say this could work. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's just a MacGuffin. But the point is, they find out through connections that Dumbledore has, and maybe connections that Newt has, if they want to, or they could just some connection in the Wizarding world on the good side say that there's been talks that Grindelwald is looking for so and so, and that Credence is with him. So they basically got to find this MacGuffin to prevent Credence from getting his hands on it, because from Grindelwald's point of view and from Credence's, he's been told that it's very powerful, and in your hands it can help you ensure the destruction of Dumbledore. So that's why Credence is after it, and it's basically them trying to get to this object somewhere in Brazil before the bad guys get to it. Typical MacGuffin story, but I think this could work also for the Grindelwald side, because he needs to be in this film very minimal. He shouldn't be at the forefront. He needs to be almost like the shadowy figure that we follow. Have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?
No.
Well, again, I'm not a diehard fan, but the gist of the first season is that you never see the main bad guy. He's mostly kept in shadow, and you only see him like from the back or a few small scenes that don't really highlight him.
From Inspector Gadget.
Sort of, yeah, like that. But yeah, you don't see them until the final season. You don't see him until the final season. So I think they need to do a similar thing here, where Grindelwald isn't. You don't see his face a lot, but he's just a figure whispering in Credence's ear. And I think that should hopefully build up a bit more of dread, to kind of set in the audience's mind that his influence is everywhere now, and he's influencing people to the likes of Credence to do whatever he wants. I think that can kind of I wouldn't say for sure, but that could maybe add a bit more of dread to him, as opposed to he's this flamboyant guy who looks almost like a meth head, claiming he's the greatest wizard of all time or something. I don't know.
I mean, it'd be a bit odd to have him be such a big part of Fantastic Beasts 2, and then in Fantastic Beasts 3, he's like, oh, he's really secluded, and you don't know about him, and what is he? But it's like, you already know about him, because you've already seen him.
Maybe, but I think they don't need to make him so focused on, because again, it's difficult, and it kind of puts them in a bit, and also the focus, it needs to be on everyone else, it needs to be on Credence, because kind of per Star Wars problems, you don't want to have him become irrelevant to the story and just be a background prop, or just there for the sake of, because he's part of this story. Because again, then you kind of get Snoke, where he's there for the sake of, we need an emperor. Let's kill him off, and no one cares. Well, people care about the theory, but they don't care about the character, because he's just a rip-off of the emperor. But I don't want the same thing to happen to Grindelwald, because again, he's meant to be one of the most interesting bad guys alongside Voldemort, if they handle him right. And so far, it's just, I don't know. Again, this is getting more into a review of Grindelwald rather than that. So yeah, I'll just move on from there. But the point is, I think Grindelwald should be not full front focus. It should be on Credence. He should be the main focus here, and we should see how he's feeling about everything, how he feels about himself as a Dumbledore, and how he's mastering his powers. Maybe he's struggling with it. Maybe he's struggling with his feelings for what decisions he made.
Well, he first needs to know what Dumbledore is. He doesn't know what a Dumbledore is.
Yeah, but the point is that their goal on both sides is to get this MacGuffin. From there, it can be, they go to the Brazil, they get to know the magical community there, they can maybe see the magical house. I don't know if Brazil they have their own Ministry of Magic. I don't know if they have a Hogwarts-esque school. I think it's mentioned somewhere. But I really hope they kind of get us introduced to this part of the Wizarding world. They can maybe have that character that was mentioned in, I can't remember her name now, but the character that had that one throwaway scene in Crimes of Grindelwald in the book, she can have her moment, maybe give them advice on how to deal with this MacGuffin, maybe she knows about it or something, and they could then have a trek through the jungle or something. And I think at this point they need to focus on the characters, and what I think they should do here is they should give Newt and Nagini some scenes together, and they need to give them a father-daughter kinship of sorts. Because, let's be honest, do you really care that much or invested that much in Nagini as a character?
No.
Yeah. So, I think we need to see more of her, and who better to be the one to connect with her than the guy who loves magical creatures. And it would be great to see her, again, how she feels about the situations, why she's on their side, maybe even give us some subtle insight into why she might end up turning more to the dark side. Because even though we know she likely won't do it out of intent, who's to say that maybe some influences of hers could influence her as a snake later on? Bit complicated, I guess. But the point is, I want to see more of her, and used to the right degree, because we can't have her just be there, like in Crimes of Grindelwald. I also think that Tina needs to have more involvement with this as well, and she can be a bit hesitant at first, because again, maybe she's a bit unsure of her allegiance, because she cares about Credence. But I also think that should be a bonding moment between them, because they both care about Credence. And I still find it weird that Tina never really reacted to Credence when they reunited in the cemetery. So I really hope that they share some moments, and we can maybe get a feeling of how they both feel about the situation and everything that's happened since then, and how they're going to deal with this when they actually meet Credence. As for Jacob, now, kind of what we touched upon earlier, I really hope they treat him almost as if he was the main character. He needs to be handled very well here, and I think the best way for them to do this is to have it be revealed that throughout the film he's of World War II. Because, again, the fact that we know from the last film... World War I, sorry. But the fact that we know that he's sort of been... It's been revealed that a potential Third World War could happen. Another
Second.
War. God damn it, yeah. But yeah, another war could happen, and that's haunting him. It's brought back memories, and the fact that he's lost Queenie as well, that could be taking a toll on him. And I think it should reflect in him and his actions. He should be troubled by his past, and before his meeting with Newt, and we should see how he's struggling and how he wants to hold on to the...
It'd be a bit weird though if they gave him PTSD just randomly.
No, but
in the last two movies he's been fine.
Yeah, but I think they could maybe pull it off with maybe he suppressed it for that point. Although, yeah, considering he said that he never had any bad memories, that is a bit kind of a stretch. But I think
he meant bad memories about being with Newt and Tina and Queenie. He didn't mean bad memories in all.
Okay, because if that's the case, again, it could all be that seeing that illusion from Grindelwald and Queenie leaving him. Maybe they could factor into him these memories resurfacing, and maybe that could be an excuse. I don't know. Again, it's not completely fleshed out, but I think that giving him that struggle, it would, again, among the many factors that could make us empathise with him more and make us root for him to, you've got to be part of this journey. You've got to help us. You've got to get back to Queenie. You've got to help them fight the good fight and defeat this dark wizard. That would be great. And also, I think him and Dumbledore should actually share some moments together.
Share some scenes.
Yeah, I'm doing my Sean Connery impression. But yeah.
Yeah, Dumbledore. That'd be nice if Dumbledore and him had some scenes, but I don't think they need to have that many.
No, but
they just maybe one or two talking like, "Oh, hi, I'm Jacob. Oh, you're a Muggle. I like Muggles."
Yeah, but I think I talked about this. I talked about this with you before recording actually. But let's just say it because quite frankly I don't know, and I think you don't know. But
I have no idea.
We don't. I can't think off the top of my head why Dumbledore cares for Muggles so much. But I do kind of like the idea if Jacob's handling in the story and his role and how he reacts to things and how he refuses to give up, maybe that could be a sort of subtle reminder to Dumbledore that Muggles are good. They suffer a lot and they can be mean sometimes. Looking at you, Dursleys, but at the end of the day, they're good people too. So I wouldn't say he inspires Dumbledore to see the good in Muggles, because again, I think that's been engraved in Dumbledore's character even before he was an adult. But I think having that little moment of Muggles, you really are amazing, aren't you? And that's why we fight for you, because we're equal or whatever.
Like the bit in The Hobbit when or the Lord of the Rings, where it's like, Gandalf is like, you can learn all there is to know about hobbits in a year, but yet in a month they still surprise you. Oh,
exactly. Yeah, I think that would be a great moment between Muggle and magic, and for those two characters, it would just be great to see them converse and react to each other. Because again, from the books at least, Dumbledore, I don't think, did he ever share any scenes with a good Muggle besides the Dursleys?
It was with the what's her name, the Mrs. Cole from the orphanage.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But yeah, I just
because he kept giving her whiskey.
Oh, Dumbledore, oh cheek. But yeah, I would like that to happen, and again opens the doors for some interesting conversations and seeing how they're handled. Now, that would be the crux of the story there. They can go through the forest, they can meet some magical creatures. As I said, they can encounter the... How did it go? The Leofords or something. Again, I'm butchering the name, sorry.
Leofords?
The Leofords.
Leofords?
Yeah, that thing. The cloak monster, essentially. But yeah, they can have an encounter with that, and they can finally get to their... They can find a temple or something, or maybe some ancient wizard building, and they can find the MacGuffin, and that's where they can meet Credence.
Not the MacGuffin.
And they can have a wizard fight, and Dumbledore can show his chops. So he can duel Credence, and I think the film would be great to end with Credence being revealed that he is a fake Dumbledore, and that Grindelwald was lying all along. Maybe there can be a twist to it that he's related to some other minor Harry Potter character. It would be a stretch to say he's maybe related to the Potters, because again, I think we talked about this in the review, it doesn't make sense, and it, again, bit of a contradiction, which would be even worse for the timelines. But I think the ending needs to be about...
He should have just been Lestrange. He should have just been Lestrange. That was so easy. But then they were like, no, he's not Lestrange. Look, because he's a random little kid.
But yeah, I think the film needs to end with Dumbledore and Credence meeting and dueling, and in the end, whether it's a suite where Dumbledore wins and Credence is forced to be killed, or I think the more optimistic version would be that Credence figures this out during mid-fight, and he realizes that he really is not a Dumbledore, and maybe they can have that moment where they all think they're together, they're united, and then Grindelwald can come out of the shadows and kill him with the Cruciatus Curse or something, and it can end his story there.
Perhaps.
And I guess the only thing I kind of want to add as a potential, mostly because this is another one of those theories that I forgot to add in, but also I don't think this is going to happen, is that we could find out maybe that Newt and Theseus, they're not killed during the brawl or something because Lita put a protection curse on them for sacrificing herself.
But then Harry Potter's not the boy who lived.
Yeah, again, I don't know. That's a theory that's been popping why it wouldn't make sense or why it wouldn't happen. But yeah,
because it isn't like Harry Potter the only person to like have that happen to him.
No, I don't. No,
then to add something else would be like, oh.
Unless they want to say this is how Dumbledore first encountered this form of magic, but I didn't mean they survived the Cruciatus Curse or the Death Curse. But essentially, I mean that small curses, they don't kill them because of their actions or something. But yeah, I guess the gist of what I'm getting to in the end. Oh yeah, and I would. Yeah. Oh.
This is vomit.
But yes, I would also add that Theseus would still be there. He would still have some screen time. He could be grieving still about Lita's death, and Newt could comfort him. And that
I mentioned earlier that it'd be nice if he came back.
Yeah, but I think overall, my gist of the story is that I want it to be an adventure, and it ties up all the loose ends. Makes sense in the world of the series and the timelines and all that jazz, which we've been reiterating a lot in the last hour or so or something. But this film has the potential, as told through both our discussions and our story ideas. I think this film could be amazing. It could redeem itself in the eye of the Potterheads and the casual fans, as long as they know what they're doing, they have a vision, they stick with it, and they know where it's going to go and how it's going to impact the rest of the world. But who knows?
Yeah, I really hope the next one is going to be great. I really hope.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess. We've got, we'll say, a year. It's like 2021, right? Oh, yeah, God damn it, more than a year. But,
a year and a bit.
Oh, God. Oh, well, let's just hope that this means they've got enough time to be ready. But yeah. Let's hope.